It is officially 5 o'clock Mountain Time. We appreciate you being with us, and we want to honor those who try to make it on time with us. We know that time is valuable, and I have a solid 20 minutes and a fluctuating 30 minutes. I'm kind of teasing. We want to wrap this up in about 15 or 20 minutes. We know your time is valuable and want to give you some good information. And so without any further ado, I will introduce myself. My name is Dave Webb. I am the Senior Vice President of Communications and Marketing for BennyU, and I've been with the company since July of 2017. Thrilled to be here through the joining up of Jamberry and Avicay, and now here we are as BennyU. The beautiful whole is complete now. I hope it's complete. I'm kind of kidding. We'll welcome anybody at any point, but seriously, this is good for right now. Let's go with what we've got. And what we've got is the Love Your Gut Life. We want to give a little shout out to the big promotion that's going on, the Love Your Gut Challenge. We encourage you to join and take a look at loveyourgutchallenge.com. We've got some great information there, great tools, great tips and tricks. Chanel has been a genius about putting this together with Ryan, your favorite CEO. And we are looking at the best ways to share information to help people be well. That's our target. That's part of our three-pronged goal as a company, where we target wellness, beauty, and purpose. And we believe each one feeds the other two, and that at the bottom line of everything, a great purpose can drive people to do things that they want to do for themselves and would like to do for others as well. So let's take a quick look into what we've got. To start out, we are sharing some great information about the wellness of a nation. Now, obviously, we reach out to more than just the US and Canada, but this is American statistics so far. 80 million Americans suffer from digestive diseases, and it's quite a drain on our national health and national cost. 60 to 80% of our immune system is located in the gut. Now, we'll get even more graphic with the photography in a minute here. So it may be time to send the kids out for a snack. We're going to be really direct and speak plainly about what happens and what we need to have happen. And so there will be diagrams to that effect. These are things, trust me, if I am comfortable with them, you too can be comfortable with them, and we'll make it all work anyway. 80 million Americans suffer every day from poor digestion. Now, here are some very alarming stats. These are from 2017. 191,000 total deaths that year due to digestive diseases. 45 million people were hospitalized, or some people multiple times in the hospital. 22 million work days. That's a month. That is a month out of your year was lost by 1 million people. 66 million cases of heartburn each year. And heartburn drugs are the top selling over-the-counter medication, and they totaled $10 billion in revenue last year. Again, heartburn. Who among us has not had at least some kind of heartburn? Some of it is diet-induced, some of it is genetic, and we're just predisposed for it. For some of us, it is stress-based. And then if you have a combination of all three, whoa, Nelly, I think is the official medical term I'm looking for, but that can be a really debilitating illness. There are a number of medications that have cropped up that for years were prescription only, and then they became over the counter, but they were not treated well. And you will be aware of some of those instances where over the counter medication was actually responsible for a number of serious health situations because they didn't regulate themselves well. And a lot of times some of that regulation, and I'm just going to speak plainly, some of the regulation, even self-regulation, only happens when a company says, well, we need to change the formulation so that we can introduce the new and improved, but it doesn't do a radically different thing. It's just different at all, so they can charge a new price for it, or they give it an extra couple of letters at the end of the product name, and then it becomes something that, because they have exclusive rights to that product, they can make more money with it. So we're spending over $100 billion a year on medical treatment for problems in our digestive systems or problems of the gut. So we want to have a solution to that. There's no reason to point out these statistics if we don't think that we have something that can counter that, that can give us a better result, that can give us hope, and certainly our loved ones hope. And I think one of the most true statements you can have is that you don't realize how important it is to take care of ourselves until you have someone else to take care of with you. In my case, it was getting married, having a couple of kids. And I joke about how the kids don't even matter anymore because we have a grandson. But the reality is, if any of those people that I love, and I include my extended family, my siblings, my nieces and nephews, my wife's nieces and nephews, our parents, when anyone in that group suffers, I suffer. We suffer. It occupies our mind energy. It occupies our time and it occupies our prayers, let's be honest. And we look for ways to help other people. So when we talk about how you're affected negatively by anything in society, and our target here at BeneU is wellness, beauty, and purpose. If any of those are threatened or challenged, we want to make sure we have a solution, that we have an answer that is not just smoke and mirrors, that is not pretend, that is not just hype. We want to have something, we want to offer something that we believe in, that we can verify with science and research, and that we can duplicate, and we can make it happen again and again, and that there are anecdotes, that there are personal use experiences, some people call them testimonials, of people who have positive experiences with our products. So I'm going to open it up to this group right now. You don't have to answer immediately. Some of the elements of the digestive discussion can be a little delicate. Let's just be very blunt. That's not even blunt. That was very sweet. But there are some topics within discussion that would make you blush. Let's just be frank. And so if you have anything that you would like to share, again, these are personal product experiences, typically with the products we'll talk about here, and I'll show you some of those examples in a moment. But if you have something you'd like to share, whether it's in the Q&A folder of the Zoom profile here, or in the chat feature, we will take some time at the end of the call and answer some of those or share some of those experiences if you would like to. So look at this stat. That is not an actual photograph of a gut. I want to be clear that I'm not misrepresenting anything scientific here. This is more along the lines of what you would see from the Magic School Bus if you had children who grew up in the 90s. But this image there represents different diseases and syndromes that exist within your system that can be linked to an imbalance of bacteria within your system. And there are some really fascinating details and numbers about bacteria. And there are things that honestly are alarming if you were to pay attention to the science. Now, science of the body to me is a little bit like science of my car. I am no Ryan Anderson, darn it. You could tell me that there's a carburetor and a manifold and a camshaft, and I can believe you. I might even have seen pictures of them, but I have no idea what they do. And I understand that makes me a certain level of unintelligent, and I accept that because hopefully there are other areas in my life that I feel intelligent in. Cars is not one of those areas. The gut, the body, the systems, the physiology, the anatomy, all of those things are not in my wheelhouse of knowledge, but I trust people that I know who are in that wheelhouse. And so when we talk about things that are linked to bacterial imbalance, the level that I need to pay attention, and I treat this again kind of like I treat a car, I can tell when the oil light goes on that I need to put oil in. And hopefully I do it before the light goes on, right? If I get a check engine light, I better check the engine and have someone who knows what they're doing. Hopefully they won't take advantage of me, but they will run the diagnostic and let me know what I'm looking at. The same thing needs to exist for our bodies. So I know enough that if I'm thirsty, I hydrate. And my favorite hydration method is Go and Core. It's a 1-to-1 mix. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it. I get the best possible energy and some great autoimmune and antioxidant support from Core. And that's my favorite mix. That's my favorite hydration. But that's what my system tells me. The light that goes on in my head is hydrate, and here's what you're going to want to hydrate with. If I'm hungry, I eat these things. And if I eat wisely and intelligently, my body performs to that extent. If I eat poorly, if I make poor decisions about how I eat, I feel the results of those poor decisions as well. So here's something that is very interesting. The gut bacteria is responsible for 95% of your body's serotonin. Now, if you look up serotonin, if you study, if you know anything at all, you'll see a lot of talk about serotonin as a requirement for mood elevation, for stress control, for successful sleep. And melatonin is something that people can take as a supplement that will address serotonin and how your body is able to process stress and to level itself out so that your body gets both the rest that it needs, but then also that the balance lets you have the energy that you need. So one of the elements about melatonin that people don't really pay attention to, because it's been a natural supplement for over 100 years, and then it's been synthesized and processed and made available through different vendors and companies over the years. But your body can develop a resistance to melatonin, where you need more melatonin to have an actual effect. And my wife is, and I hope she doesn't mind my sharing this, my wife takes not an over-the-counter, she takes a prescription medication to help her sleep. And she has reached a point of using that for a number of years to where now she requires more than one. It used to be a quarter of a pill helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. And she has now graduated, which is it sounds like a good thing to have happen, but it is not a good thing. She has graduated to one whole pill, and on occasion, she'll have a half of a second pill to help her get to sleep or to fall back asleep if something happens. But again, that's because the body has developed a resistance to it, and it doesn't have the same effect that it had originally. But here, 95% of your body's serotonin comes from how your digestive system processes your nutrition and your supplements and your hydration. And our microbes, these are the things that swim around in us. They have 360 times more protein coding in their DNA than we do as humans. So DNA is already represented. I mean, I want to say dinucleic acid. I should probably not even pretend to know what that actual DNA stands for. But it is the foundation for who we are as people. It's what makes us individual. It's what ties us to other people of similar familial backgrounds. I share some DNA with my siblings. I share less DNA with my father because I get part from him, part from my mother. I get even less from their parents, and so on back through the generations. But there are elements of the DNA that can be tied back to my original ancestors. I'm sure they were royalty. I'm sure they were probably very handsome and strong individuals. I'm now making this up because that may or may not be true. But this fascinating fact about microbes, they have 360 times more protein coding DNA than we do as people. So here's how health is affected by what we take in. So let's start at the upper left. If you're looking at this as if you would look at a clock, you would take ingestion. So what goes into your mouth? In this picture, we've got a couple of options: Choreo, Smart, Activate, that you take in. Your ingestion is one of the pieces of your digestive system. Then within digestion, go to the right as if, again, going around a clock. This is now at approximately 3 p.m. if the clock hands are pointing the way I'm thinking. Then you've got enzymes, L-glutamine, fiber, essential oils. That's where they go to work because they take care of what happens once your food has been ingested. When you take food in, you have ingested it. When you digest food, that is how your body processes what it's going to do with the nutrition. And if you could see me, you could see my air quotes around nutrition, because I have not always given my body the proper nutrients. I have ingested substances, some of them made by Hostess, some of them made by Texas Roadhouse, some of them made by the Coca-Cola Company. I have ingested substances that my body, I believe, shaking its internal fist at me, says, I have to digest this stuff, you dummy. Don't you realize this is why you have lost energy? This is why you are tired. This is why your stomach is bloated around the middle at this time, whatever those things are. And I'm probably giving a little too much Dave information, but I want you to recognize this not only in yourselves if it exists for you, but as you talk to people, as you share with your contacts, your friends, your family. I think we can say plainly on this call, not everyone within the BeneU universe has had 100% success in introducing BeneU products and opportunity to 100% of their family and friends. That's not a knock. That's not a dig at anyone's personal effectiveness. There are people within Bill Gates' family who use Apple computers. That is a stunning statistic. But the same thing here. Not everyone has 100% success 100% of the time. But as you share the information, I'm providing this information first and foremost to embarrass myself. Apparently, that seems to be one of my objectives. But seriously, for those of you, if you recognize it in yourself and you can implement it for yourself, that's fantastic. We want people to be well first and foremost. But then you might also recognize in someone else where this could be a benefit or service to them. That is what helps your business grow, not as you try to get someone's credit card number, but as you identify situations within them or their households, somewhere within their lives, something that needs to be addressed, that they are clamoring for a solution for, but haven't yet found it. We want to offer this as a legitimate and even a phenomenal suggestion and a solution for what they need. So working further around the clock to the colonization area, you can see that probiotics live in that part of the gut, and serotonin is produced in that part of the gut. So colonization, again, is what happens when your body needs to build up the pieces that it needs to process. So protein, we know, is kind of the building blocks, and it's the energy, and it's the battery, and it's the fuel. And then you have carbohydrates that perform their function, which includes turning into sugars, in some cases in a good way, and in bad cases that can lead to actual disease. But what your body does with its nutrition and its supplements is what happens to give you either a sense of wellness or of not being well. I'll skip right past that 7 p.m. element of elimination. We all know what that means, but if your body doesn't use it, your body gets rid of it. We all have it happen, and we've all changed the diaper, and we know what that means. So go over now to that last one, which is absorption. And there are supplements that can help with absorption. So when we talk about the digestive system, what our bodies need, what helps us, what do we require? We require water. We talk with our kids when they're in school. I don't remember it enough from being in school myself, being in my late 20s as I am. And those of you who know me know how comical that statement is. But when you go through school again with your kids in elementary school and junior high and high school, you are reintroduced to the things that you were supposed to have learned in your own elementary and junior high and high school. And you remember how your body takes in what it does and then processes it and then takes care of the rest of your body. So the first thought is, how long can you survive without food? And someone would say, 4 hours. That's my limit. If I don't have something in 4 hours, I swear I feel like I'm going to die. But your body technically can go for days without food, a couple of days, a few days without food. You can't go as long without water. So you require hydration to stay well, to function optimally. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about just getting by, or how can I get up and down these stairs without panting like I have just run a marathon. That's not the objective. The objective is to live well and to be well enough that you can take care of, and the true definition of wellness is to be able to maintain a standard set of living activities with whatever needed reserves need to be in place if you have to have a rapid expenditure of energy. So whether that's helping a neighbor move, or if it's chasing a toddler who is close to the stairs, or whatever it is, or if it's a weekend sports activity, or maybe you jog every day. All of those things both contribute to wellness, but also require wellness to be performed properly. So here's one of my favorite products that I've been introduced to just in the last few months, with Abacay becoming part of the Benayou family. And we were all actually Benayou family at the same time, and that was on November 1st, 2nd, 3rd at the convention in Las Vegas last year. We introduced Benayou as a new brand, as kind of the house of brands, with M and Abacay and Jamberry forming that whole. And so as I've been introduced to these products, I'm learning more and more. I'm understanding more and more, but this is one that was fascinating to me personally because of some of the statistics that come with it. So looking specifically right there at the, can you see on the bottom right-hand side of that, our right-hand side of that box, it says 20 billion active cultures. Now that's a curious number. Why would that have an effect? Why is that something that we would tout on the front of a box when we're talking about prebiotics and probiotics? First of all, we probably need a little education on prebiotics and probiotics. This is what helps our body process food most efficiently. And I say food, but I really do mean nutrition, because I don't deserve any help if I am eating only cherry pie and a chocolate milkshake and a Snickers for my 3 meals a day. I don't deserve proper digestion of those horrible, horrible decisions that I haven't made for years. Let's be honest. I'm clear of those days. But our even healthy eating still requires smart and intelligent help in processing and digesting that food. So when we have pre and probiotics acting together, you can see at the bottom of that box, there's a stick. It looks like a pixie. It's similar to the hydration sticks that we have, roughly the same size. You tear off one end, but instead of mixing this in water, you're pouring the pre and probiotics right on your tongue. And I will make a suggestion now. Don't pour the whole thing on your tongue at once. Just, if you do, don't inhale. I mean, there are a couple of ways to look at this. I have found that if I can break that into 3 or 4 applications to my tongue, I have a much better experience. Thankfully, the flavors are great. You have wild fruit, citrus, but also the pineapple orange, wild berry, pineapple orange are the fruit options, the flavor options. And I found when I sprinkle it on my tongue, and again, all at once, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. You might find yourself snorting some yellowish smoke, and I mean snorting out. I'm not recommending you ever snort in your pre or probiotics. But if you take the whole pack, put it on your tongue, and you cough or inhale or sneeze, that's a big colorful cloud that is coming out of your face. But when you add this to your regimen, to your daily dose, once a day with pre and probiotics, and this is, again, without any other consideration for whatever medication you're going through. I can only speak from my personal experience. It was recommended to me that I increase the amount of pre and probiotics I took when I was on an antibiotic. Now that makes sense mathematically and linguistically, because if I have an antibiotic, it is killing bacteria that at the time were giving me pneumonia. And maybe you can hear some remnants in my nasal cavity as I try to speak clearly and eloquently, but I fail in my poor delivery today. But those antibiotics have a purpose, which is getting rid of bad bacteria. That's why they've been invented. That's why Madame Curie was a genius. That's why everything that has to happen has been done for a great reason, even if it all sprang from, what was it, decaying cantaloupes, if I'm remembering that history lesson correctly. But now with antibiotics, I have not only killed off bad bacteria, I have also done damage to good bacteria. So there are some things that talk about have a yogurt or have this because they have active cultures, and they can perform a system to perform a function within your system to give you better biotic support, which is prebiotics and probiotics. So with this, at the end of my antibiotic period, it was recommended to me that I take a number of the Pixie Sticks. I don't want to pretend to prescribe. So I will tell you that it is fewer than 5. It was not a big, ridiculous snort fest of probiotics, and probably shouldn't even use the phrase snort fest on a webinar, but I do what I do, and I only make a few apologies. But there it was, and I felt better results from it. I could tell what the difference was because my stomach was properly functioning at the end of that period. So pre and probiotics, it's part of the Love Your Gut Challenge, and it is built to help your body best process the nutrition that it takes in. If you remember that diagram with the clock, and again, these calls are made available to be reviewed and shared through our YouTube channel, and we make it available on the social media networks, and hopefully in your back office in the company news section and on the dash. But as you look at that clock, when you see what happens with the processing of your food, how it is taken care of in the digestion portion, pre and probiotics have a critical function. And the pre and probiotics that we have available here, both in a pineapple orange and a wild berry flavor, not only do they taste great, that would be only secondary to whether they work. And they absolutely work. And that is a great piece of information. Now, again, that 20 billion, what does that active cultures mean? Our studies have shown, and these are independent lab studies, these are not marketing people studies where they say, let's throw out a big number and see if people like it. These are independent labs have dictated and shown to us. Not only is the 20 billion active cultures, and again, that's just a big number because it's what is needed to make it effective once it goes in the quantities that we're talking about, we actually have more than double that at time of manufacture. Now, the reality is at time of manufacture, everything is optimal. And if you could sit at the end of the assembly line and pop a pre and probiotic into your mouth at the end, that amount would be 40 billion CFUs. Now, those letters stand for colony forming units. And that's just what is measured for how bacterial colonies can form. And again, we're talking about pre and probiotics, which are the ones that build healthy bacteria within your gut. The 40 billion is what happens at manufacture, but because of time, there is an element of degradation, meaning there is an element of loss that can occur with time. Now, they are built in with a coating that saves them or protects the bacterial cultures going through the packaging process, the shipping process, waiting for you. Now, again, there are some elements you need to know. We don't have a need to be refrigerated. That's a common myth. There is a refrigeration need. Like it says, you better refrigerate these probiotics because that's how they're most effective. What that means is they haven't been protected to exist outside of refrigeration. So that may be well and good, but if you're ever in a situation where you're traveling, you can't always take an ice chest with you and carry your probiotics in an ice chest. These probiotics go in a packet that are TSA friendly, airport friendly, international boundaries friendly, and you just pop that stick into your mouth. Again, hopefully in 3 to 4 applications, not all at once. It's a little bit overwhelming, tough to get in and swallow, but you get 20 billion active cultures on consumption. That's what our studies are showing. It starts at 40 billion at manufacture, but that 2-year life cycle of when we think the boxes are supposed to last, that is a 20 billion active culture delivery that we are counting on. And there will be more studies coming out in the next little bit. We've commissioned a couple of different ones just so that we can have some international effect and basically have validity as we look at other markets as well. So that's our tale. That is our background on some of the pre and probiotic need and use and the solution that it offers. We're thrilled to have had you with us. Thanks for your time. Any questions, please give us a call. Our customer support number is 855-750-9937. Again, 855-750-9937. Or you can send an email to products@benau.com. You can also send it to support@benau.com. But typically for product questions, you can get straight to the product development team and testing team, and they will look into your information and get it back for you. Thanks for being with us. Have a terrific day, and we'll talk to you again next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.